Welcome, welcome. It's playoff time in Texas. We're headed that way. Stay tuned. Share this out. The DenCoGridiron Show live Friday afternoon edition is coming to you right now. The not ready for primetime players, Koency, Hord, and Livingston will be bringing you all kinds of action. But before we get rolling, hear a message from one of our sponsors. Our friends at Gillian Brothers Roofing are locally owned and operated right here in Denton, Texas. If you've got hail damage, you're looking to replace a roof, add a patio cover, give them a call at 940-315-ROOF. Dan Gillian and the team there will take great care of you. I promise you. Locally owned and operated, Gillian Brothers Roofing. And for all your pregame tailgate appetizer needs and postgame fun, our friends at Marty B's. Man, check him out. Have you seen what he's been doing on Instagram and some of the videos that Marty's been doing? Man, he is off the chain, having a lot of fun. And it's like you're eating at his house every time you go to Marty B's. Check them out. They're in Bartonville, Texas. And without any further ado, the dynamic duo, Lee Livingston, Koency Hord. Take it away, guys.
What is going on, y'all? Again, I'm Koency Hord. This is my partner, Lee Livingston. Well, start off this Friday edition of the DenCoGridiron Show. We're going to start it off with the UIL releasing their numbers for realignment for the February 2022 year. And, of course, at the top of the list, Allen at 7,102 students. Lee, what kind of additions is this going to put into the season going into the year?
Obviously this doesn't have any effect on this season, but it's going to be really interesting to see kind of what happens throughout the years. This goes into 2022 is when this will go into effect once they realign everything. But December is when these numbers kind of become official, and then February is when they'll actually do the realignment. And I'm going to be really interested to see what happens, because you look at Allen right here, they're at 7,102. Conroe, just outside of Houston, is the next biggest at 4,725. That's such a big, massive difference. And I think people have said it before and they've talked about it. It's been a subject for years now that Allen is just so big. You kind of wonder, is it really fair competition for everyone getting an opportunity? Is everyone getting an opportunity, not just in football, but in all these other activities? So it's going to be interesting. And then the next thing, but outside of Allen, that's going to be kind of an interesting subject, is Class 4A. 515 is the minimum to be in Class 4A, and then the max is 1,229. That's a really large class. I'm kind of interested to see, what do they do there? Any thoughts on that for you?
I mean, yeah, I know you go into Class 4A, you have teams like, Argyle, not particularly a huge school by any means, but they're one of the bigger schools in the 4A class. And a school with 515 students in the enrollment, that's going to be a lot of the smaller schools, probably not going to have as much competition for the Argyles and the Melissas and, the teams of that caliber in that class. So, yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how that class ends up working. I'm about to say everything else, the 3A, 2A, 5A, 6A, everything else is pretty solid where it has been in the past. So, but yeah, 4A, that's going to be an interesting class going into next year.
Yeah. So kind of off of that, 4A being so interesting, 4A being so large of a class, and you talked about the competition factor there. Is it going to be super fair competition? Obviously, they'll break it up amongst divisions like they have before, but still seems, I don't know how they're going to break it up perfectly, because it still seems like you're going to have some smaller schools playing some schools that are a lot bigger than them by a possible maybe anywhere from a 300 to 400 margin, and that's pretty significant when you're talking about a school with maybe 500-ish students. And then when you're talking about like Allen at 7,000, when you get into those 4,000 plus student range, there is a rumor that I have heard. I don't know if you've heard it, but there's a possibility we do see Texas maybe go up to a 7A. And I think that would be a decent idea and maybe kind of help even things out across the board for all these classes, just from a competition standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, you see obviously the drop off after Allen, it goes into the 4,000 range right after that. And a lot of these schools, these larger schools have 4,000, some odd number of kids. So I think that a 7A would help in some cases, but I mean, for a 7A, obviously you're going to have a school like Allen. A lot of those Houston schools are going to be in that division. And then, of course, maybe as Denton grows, you're going to see some of the Denton schools going into that class or classification. So yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what happens with that. I think that we won't see a 7A if it does end up happening for a while, maybe like 5 to 10 years. But I mean, Texas just has the ability to grow so fast as a state, and people moving into these concentrated areas and stuff like that. So that I could see that definitely being a possibility in the future.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll kind of leave off here, before we get into the nitty gritty of this episode, this playoff episode, is there are some schools right now, even though Allen has kind of chosen not to build those second high schools. Talking to a friend of mine who is in that coaching area, does help with coach with high school and middle school football right now. Like Frisco Lovejoy and some of these Frisco high schools, they're starting to get some people who are moving out of that Allen area and into Frisco and some of the surrounding other high schools.
Prosper, Salina,
and those areas. And Frisco Lovejoy has kind of made a jump this year. And I think you're going to continue to kind of see that because you're not going to get a chance at this school. And those backups we've seen before, backups at Allen are really, really good because there's a million kids on the team. So I think we continue to see some Frisco schools just play really good football,
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have Allen, you're going to have, it's obviously just such a huge talent pool. You're pulling from so many areas in that little Frisco, Plano region. So yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what happens with that. I know we have it in our notes here, but Denton Ryan, is right on that 5 to 6A edge. I'm kind of interested to see if Ryan ends up going to 6A. Obviously for the past few years, they've been playing at a 6A level. They've been playing with 6A teams, setting up, exhibition matches here and there. So I'm also excited to see what happens with Ryan, because I would really like to see them start playing those South Lake Carrolls and those Geyers and, and those types of teams every year.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. They're right on that edge. It's going to be really interesting because Denton's getting bigger. It's growing as a city. Denton Braswell is the school right now that leads in terms of population size, school size, student population. Oh, good grief. Denton Geyer is just behind at around 70-ish less students. And then there's the gap between them and Ryan. Mm-hmm. I think Ryan will probably be the school. Actually, it might be Denton. Denton's getting a new campus. So we got to keep that in mind.
Right. Yes.
So if there is a jump in population here in the city of Denton, will it be Denton High or Denton Ryan that gets that, all those new people?
Right.
Because Denton's going to have the new campus. Denton Ryan is expanding their campus. They're adding some stuff, but it's not actually a new campus. And I think Denton ISD overall is preparing for kind of a population jump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I know obviously the Denton Broncos haven't really been all of that in football in the recent years, but coming in with this new campus, you can see a lot of new students go into that area because of the new amenities that they're going to have at that school. I know a lot of coaches back when I was in high school, they were moving to Denton so that they could, coach with those new amenities and systems and stuff like that, all that new stuff that they're going to have at DHS. So, I mean, in terms of talent, I still think you're going to see a lot of kids that have the choice between Denton and Ryan, still probably going to end up going to Ryan or Geyer or, maybe even Braswell in some cases. But yeah, I mean, I expect to see some more kids going to Denton. I know Denton has a lot of, they have a lot of upside. I think they definitely have a lot of upside shown after this year. Coco Brown, their running back, we saw him in action earlier this season.
Real stud.
Real stud, real solid player on that Denton team. So I'm looking forward to see some players kind of follow his lead and come join Denton.
Yeah, should be really interesting to see kind of what shakes out. Always interesting to see what shakes out through these realignment things. Weird stuff happens. You never know. I mean, Allen and Geyer and McKinney Boyd have made for an exciting district this year. There's always a few districts that are just really, really exciting. So it'll be fun to watch what happens here in February.
It will. Now, I think we're going to jump into, speaking of the nitty gritty, I think we're going to do that, jumping into some of the recap of our teams that we cover here on the DenCoGridiron show. We're going to start off going down the road into 377. We have Argyle. They are second in district, thanks to Melissa, and they are 8-1 overall. They're going to take on 6-3 Paris tonight at 7:30. I know we've seen Argyle play a few times. Obviously, they're extraordinary most of the time that we see them play. They had that one loss this season to Melissa, where they lost 21-0. That's still a shocker to me, if I'm completely honest with you, because every time I've watched Argyle play, there's never a thought in my mind that says, wow, I could definitely see a team coming to shut down this team offensively. So, and then we have Liberty. Why don't you take away Liberty?
Yeah, so Liberty's going to be kind of an interesting team to watch here over the course of the season. Jason Witten, obviously the head coach there, haven't played great football throughout the season. Been a mixed bag for them at times. They're 1-8. It's going to be a rebuild process for them. So, trying to find super positive things. The most positive thing to say is you're building, and you kind of knew going into this season they were young, and you're looking for the future. Being at that scrimmage, talking to some of the coaching staff, they were trying to it was tough to put together a Navy versus white scrimmage. And when that's the case, you just don't have a lot of depth. And if you don't have a lot of depth, a full season's going to be a grind, and it's going to be tough.
Absolutely.
Especially with a new head coach. So the future is the goal. I think that's the thing for Liberty. So if you're a Liberty fan, look forward to that.
Upside moving forward.
There's upside.
Exactly.
It's not the end.
Now from Liberty, we're going to take it over by Lantana, south side of Denton. We're going to go to Geyer. They are 9-1 overall, 5-1 in district. They're second in their district thanks to the Allen Eagles, and they have the night off tonight. They're going to be gearing up for the postseason. I, of course, as an alumni, south side, I'm really looking forward to seeing Geyer going into the playoffs. Jackson Arnold, of course, it's a pleasure watching him play every time you get to see him play, and that defense is always so solid. I know we've seen some Alabama offers. We've seen some Oregon offers go into that secondary on that defense, and I'm just kind of interested to see how they hold up going into the postseason, Lee.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what goes on with this team. I think the only thing that's going to hold this team back, we've seen some offensive line problems here and there, and it feels like this team is really good and can make a deep run, but it also feels like this is a team that could possibly get upset somewhere a little early on. And that's just because if they play a team that can get pressure on the quarterback, that offensive line is going to struggle to hold up. It reminds me of some older Geyer teams from the past. They're really good on defense. They have a pretty solid offense. I think the scary thing for them is really just that offensive line is going to really step up, man. Yeah. It's got to be there. Otherwise, you're just relying on that defense to make big play after big play after big play.
I agree. And you're going to be counting on Jackson Arnold out of the pocket, which, obviously you don't always want to count on your quarterback having to be mobile in games where, you kind of just need him to sit back there and toss it around. So,
yeah. And I think the other thing we got to look at here is they've won some big games. And then when they played Allen, which was I think we looked at as, this is the district title game, it didn't work. Whatever was going on, it didn't work. And the offense really struggled against Ryan, which is an elite level defense. So who do they play or in that second and third round is going to be really interesting, because I think they get past that first round. If they run into a Cedar Hill, who they have seen several times before in those early rounds, a team similar to that, that's where I think it happens. If they win, if they get past that kind of a team early on, rock and roll.
I would have to agree. I think you could draw some parallels to I believe it was the 2020 team where, they had that super tough matchup in the second or third round against, I think it was Cedar Hill. And then, after they got past that second or third round matchup, they kind of just coasted all the way to the state. So you kind of got to keep that in mind. I feel like in Texas State playoffs where, you might face like 2 or 3 really tough teams in your first 2 games, but then after that you might ease up a little bit just because of, how teams are placed into the playoffs, into the tournament, stuff like that. So I mean, I think this is going to be a very I don't want to say inconsistent playoffs, but I think it might shock a few people, the teams that come in.
It'll be really interesting just because this is a heavyweight district. I mean, McKinney Boyd played well from what I remember in non-district play. Allen played well in non-district play. It's a little different. No offense to 6A. Hebron was really competitive. We thought they had a shot to win that district, and they looked bad in non-district. So 5-6A's got some teams in it, and Prosper, like Braswell, looked really good early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Quincy, you sound a little bit like Tony Romo when he's calling a Cowboy game. You got a little bit of Homer in you there.
Yeah, just a little bit,
That's
a little
all
bit.
right. That's
South
all right.
Side, born and bred. Come on now, Lee. How about you take us down to Lake Dallas?
All right, so Lake Dallas, tough year for them. I wanted to see them succeed. We saw them play early in the year against Denton. I wanted to see them and Denton succeed. They've got some exciting players. Oh, good grief. I'm trying to remember quarterback. Oh, good gosh. Quarterback's name. Oh, good grief. Great quarterback play all year long. It's just not worked out for them. And it's a bummer because they have a fun, exciting team that's you enjoy watching, and it just didn't work. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of problems. You give up a lot of points. The ball's not, things aren't consistent on offense. There's a reason they only have 2 wins, and you're going to look forward to a future, but your star player is a senior. And it's kind of similar with Denton, except that Coco Brown is coming back for another year because I believe he is a junior.
Yes.
So it's just a bummer because I think that was a team that I really was looking forward to and hoping I'd get to watch them in the playoffs. Not the case, but
Yeah. And I mean, you look at their record. I mean, a lot of these teams are below, like, let's say 4-6. Like Dallas is sitting at 4-6 right now, so it's not like they had like the worst year of their lives. But yeah, we were kind of looking for Lake Dallas to come out of that district with Denton and the teams in that, and
they were in a bit of a tough district. They were in a tough district. No, they were in a different district. There was a lot of the Frisco teams in district 4. Oh, one of the 7-4A, I think is what it was. And it's tough that you're kind of sitting here going, oh, what happened to Lake Dallas? Because they looked good early in the year, and they just things just didn't quite pan out the way that we kind of hoped they would.
Right.
So,
and tonight they're going to head to Melissa to take on the 7-2 Cardinals, who again beat Argyle. Gave Argyle one of their first losses in like 5 years earlier in the year. Now we're going to head to the heart of Denton, DHS, the 1-8 Broncos. They are sitting at 7th in their district, and they're going to take on winless Frisco Centennial tonight at 7:30. So a battle of the lesser teams tonight, but a positive, either Frisco Centennial comes out with their first win of the season, or Den goes on to be 2-8. Look for Coco Brown to be doing something in this game, as he usually does. Lee, you got anything on this one?
Nope. I think we just kind of look for Coco Brown to go out and run for 200, 300 yards because he's done that a few times this season, even in games against pretty solid teams. So kind of all I can add to that is when you've got a star player like that, you let him go out and you let him do his thing.
Exactly. So. Now we're going to head down to Ryan on the, I believe it's the east side of Denton, if we're getting geographical with it. Lee, what's going on at Ryan?
Ryan's really, really good. I think we can stop there. I'm just kidding. What I'll do here is I'll kind of talk about Caleb Hicks and how he's really, really good, and the defense is really, really good. But they have a really big game tonight. This is gonna be their first big matchup since that Gyra game all the way back in non-district play. In I think it was week 2. So yeah, it was week 2, right? Mm-hmm. All right, good. I'm not insane. I'm excited to see how this game turns out because winner of this game wins the district. It's the battle of 2 teams who are undefeated in district play, only have 1 loss on the year. I think the Ryan Raiders are going to come away with this one with a win. Now, Frisco Lone Star is really good. They are a top 5 team in the state for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Their running back, Ashton, good grief, Ashton Genty, I'm trying to pronounce this right. Nearly right around 1,400 yards and 29 touchdowns.
That's insane.
So you want to win the game, you're going to have to slow that guy down. I think Ryan can, and Ryan has a very good, balanced offense led by Caleb Hicks, a great running back. They've got a lot of depth on that offense. Kalen Davis has looked pretty solid through the year. 10 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. It's not what you necessarily want to see, but at 133 attempts, that's fine. And for how good the rushing attack is, it's totally fine.
Agreed.
I think that's fine.
Yes. And I think, you're looking at, you brought up Kalen Davis. He's a sophomore. I think people forget that he's a young kid. So, he's kind of being groomed into being that veteran starter role for that team. And so I have nothing but good things to say about him. And I think he has a lot of upside going into his junior and senior year. Obviously, and you said Frisco, they're going to be a very heavily rush dominant team, very good team on offense, but I've also learned the hard way to not bet against Ryan. Definitely not betting against their defense either. That is a hard hitting defense. I think out of all the games that me and Lee were able to see this year, that watching that Ryan defense just fly around the field and put hits on people the way they do, like it's scary. They will go out there and they will hit you for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that defense is elite for a reason. It slowed down Geyer. It slowed down it. We got to remember they dominated Longview to start the season at an elite level. So this is an elite defense with a lot of talent. Anthony Hill playing both ways from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's playing running back and linebacker. I mean, this is a team that has Division I talent. Just pick a position. I don't care. Just pick one.
Exactly.
That guy's D1.
Yeah, you're gonna have
insane. On a per capita basis, they probably have more talent than any school in the state right now.
Yes, I would have to agree. Now we're gonna move a little bit more north. We're gonna go to Flower Mound. The Jags, the 4-5 Jags, they're 5th in their district. They're gonna be taking on the 4-5 Capel Cowboys tonight, Lee.
Yeah. So, John, you talked to Coach Basil today or earlier this week, right?
Yeah. I host the Jag Nation radio show each and every week. And you had the good fortune to fill in while I was traveling. You did a great job, Lee.
Appreciate it.
And Coach Basil, man, what a great ambassador to Texas high school football. Tonight is senior night. The Jags have 47 seniors. It's at Neil Wilson Stadium. It's a playoff game. Basically, it's win or go home. So they're treating it just like a normal playoff game. Capel averages 31 points a game, very similar to Flower Mound Jaguars. And it's really going to boil down to how Nick Evers, the Florida commit, can really run that offense for the Jaguars. And if the defense for the Jaguars can slow down Capel to get that edge, most of the games all season long for both Capel and Flower Mound have just gone back and forth. Not much differential other than 1 or 2 scores. So it should be a great game tonight at Neil Wilson Stadium. Kickoff at 7 p.m. We'd love to see the Jaguars continue on their march in the playoffs.
100%. Yeah, we'd definitely love to see them keep going. I always have a great time watching the Jaguars. And I mean, I think a lot of people forget we went and we saw that Mound Showdown game, and the Jags came away victorious in that. And now Marcus is sitting on top of the district, but the Jags got that win. The Jags can show up and they can win those games.
That shows you how tough that District 6-6A. A lot of parity in a good way. A lot of good teams in that district, but that's why you see Capel and Flower Mound both coming in at 4 and 5. Fighting for that 4th place playoff spot tonight. Both very good teams, and it'll be a great game tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. So kind of on to the other team in Flower Mound, the Marcus Marauders, who have started playing really, really well at the right time. They picked, this is the best time of the year to start playing well. We see teams at every sport, at every level. When you start playing well going into the playoffs, that can carry you a long way. And that is what this team is doing. It's going to be really interesting to see just how far this momentum carries them, because they smacked Louisville around last week. It was a tight game. midway through, the second half is a 13-10 game, Marcus leading, and then they scored 21 unanswered at one point in the second half. It was a dominant performance.
Yes, dominant performance, mostly granted to the defense. That defense, I think if that Marcus defense can hold up for most of the playoffs, you can throw them against any team. I'm not going to say that they'll be able to win, but they'll definitely be able to stay in a lot of these games thanks to their defense. Their defense is gritty, they're scrappy, and they've even been able to get a few force a few turnovers in I think almost every game. So I'm kind of interested to see how this Marcus team is going to pan out in the playoffs. I really am.
Yeah, I'm with you there. They are an interesting team. The offense is good. The defense is what I would call a big play defense. They are not the prototype. They aren't like Geyer or some of these, or Ryan, where they are just going to shut you down and you're not going to score at all. No, they aren't that team. They're not super physical, but they can make the big play and they can do it when it matters. And when you have the kind of offense they have, where your backup quarterback, like I think it was Ethan Stetters, or Setters. Sorry, man, I'm trying to get your name right. Can come in and just not just execute the offense, but go above and beyond and play incredible. I mean, sky's the limit.
I would have to agree. Sky's the limit. Now we're going to take it up to about an hour north. We're going to go to Denton, Braswell, the Braswell Bengals. They are 5-5 and they are 5th in their district. They lost Allen last night 53-28, Lee.
Yeah, and I think that ended their season. It was the end of the road for them. Braswell played well for a lot of the year. I think the thing that we're going to look for them is improvement through the air going into next season. That's what I'd like to see from them. Great rushing game. A little too reliant on it at times, because we saw in that Prosper game, Prosper put up points and Braswell was still run the ball. It's like at some point, hey, tempo's got to pick up, and the tempo never got picked up. And I don't know if it's we don't want to rely on the quarterback. We feel like we can't. I don't know what it was. It's just, at some point when you're down kind of in the second half, got to try to do something.
I agree.
So,
yeah, I mean, I was a little disappointed. Looking in retrospect in Braswell's season, Coach Cody Moore, awesome coach over there in Braswell. I just really love the vibe of this Braswell team. They're a new school in a new Denton district and region. And I think they're still trying to fight out of that little, like little brother spot, because, you have Ryan and Geyer in these districts, and they had to play Geyer in district this year. So I think they're kind of still trying to creep away from that. But this team, I love the vibe of this team. I think Coach Cody Moore brings intangibles to this team that a lot of, you're not going to be able to find on a lot of other teams. So good luck to Braswell going into the next season. I'm actually very excited to see what they're going to be able to do and who's going to be able to come back for the next season, Lee.
Yeah, I'm with you. If they start doing that, they're gonna do it, man. They're gonna go pretty far. John, you got something?
Hey, Lee, did you know Koency's headed to a little dance on Saturday night?
I am. a little formal dance. Hey, shout out to the Pi Beta Phi sorority. Shout out to Sigma Nu.
Yeah.
All my brothers. Yeah, I'm going to a little formal tomorrow. Gonna kick it off.
These are two fantastic interns, both at the University of North Texas, and they're going to do college things. Lee, you got any plans this weekend?
Work out a little bit and then watch some football.
Yes.
What's up with that Cleveland Browns shirt? Are you a Browns fan? Or are you just
I am. I am a Browns fan.
I know you're an OU guy.
I'm a big OU guy. Right? I didn't really have an NFL team, and then my dude Baker got drafted, so I kind of just went with that. And lovely week, great week for football in Cleveland.
Well, awesome. DenCoGridiron fans, I think our format through this playoff season is do a live show, take you all the way through the playoffs. Once we get to maybe some state semifinals, state championship, we'll probably be on the sidelines there. There might be some scheduling challenges at AT&T Stadium. I saw there's going to be some conflicts for playoff games, so that'll be interesting. But now the indoor field is available for playoffs as well. Globe Life.
Oh, the new field.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
So be a lot of fun. Anything else, guys, before we sign off?
Yeah, I think we got some playoff predictions we're going to kind of go through here. I don't know, Koency, you want me or you to?
I would say you go ahead and start it
off.
All
right, so the first thing I will start off with here is our Cinderella teams. This tournament, it's a massive tournament similar to March Madness, so got to have a Cinderella team. And for me, That's going to be the Marcus Marauders. I think this is a team that is, they're not going to be one of the big dogs coming in. I think this is a team that has an explosive offense. They make big plays on defense. The only reason that they aren't looked at as a little bit more elite and maybe won't go all the way is going to be they don't stay on the gas pedal all the way through 4 quarters. They sometimes try to get a little cute and run the ball east-west at the end of games, and that's not their game. They're a team. Use the passing game as an extension of the running game. If they do that, man, this team could go really deep.
They could go
really,
deep.
really far.
I'm going to also say Marcus for a few different reasons, though. I know we saw at about like halfway through the first quarter, we saw the starting quarterback for Marcus get benched, brought in the backup, and then the backup continued to lead the team throughout that game, through the Battle of the Axe, and win that game in a pretty honestly dominant performance. So I think if we're going to see the same backup quarterback in the going through playoffs, maybe they're going to give him some more chances going into the postseason. Shoot, I mean, I think if you have a new leader and you kind of have a chip on your shoulder to where people aren't really expecting you to go and do that much in the playoffs, I mean, you could, the sky's the limit. You can really do anything with that mentality.
Yeah, they've got studs everywhere. They've got a deep offense. They've got receivers outside and Dallas Dudley, like guys like Dallas Dudley who have elite speed. They can go up and grab the ball. It's just a team that is really, it's really, really good. And they've got good tight ends. They've got all these weapons on the outside. So if you don't have an elite level secondary, I think they're just going to be super tough on you because they've got good quarterbacks.
I agree. Now, our state title winners for 6A and 5A predictions. Lee, how would you kick us off with this one?
For me, at the 6A level, the team that I mean, I'm just locked and loaded on saying this team is gonna go win is Katy. I mean, when you look at it and kind of go look at their schedule and see what they've done to people, they're gonna go win. They're undefeated. They're really, 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 really good. And anytime that Katy is really good, they're undefeated. They're blowing people out. It's kind of hard not to just be like, oh yeah, let me lock that team in that shows up in the state almost every year. I mean, we had 3 or 4 straight years of Katy versus Cedar Hill. So, you know what? Give me I think it's the Katy Wildcats. Katy Tigers. I'm locking them in. They're going to show up in the state title game, and I'm pretty confident whoever they play, they're going to win.
Yeah, I'm also going to have to go with Katy as my 6A prediction for all the reasons you said. Obviously, that's a team coming out of Houston. They're going to have to play a lot of those tougher Houston teams. And then through the postseason, like you said, you're going to see you're probably going to see them play Cedar Hill or the DeSotos, those kinds of teams from up here in the Dallas area. But 5A, I think it's a deadlock. I'm going to have to go with the Ryan Raiders. I just can't. Whenever I see this team play, I can't imagine them losing in those big situations. And we've seen them in the state championships in the past few years. They've come away with some wins and some losses. But, what I like about Ryan is they're always going to show up. They're never just going to lay an egg and, just kind of forget what to do through 2 or 3 quarters. They're going to show up in every quarter and they're going to fight. They're going to fight the whole game. And I think that in the end, that will win you a lot of those tougher playoff games and maybe even a state game in the end.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right. And the hard thing for me here is I think whoever wins tonight's game is probably going to go on to win. Well, they're going to both play. Actually, they're both going to end up playing again in the playoffs is my guess. I think it's going to be similar with Argyle and Melissa, kind of like we've talked about off air. The winner between Frisco Lone Star and Denton Ryan is going to come out of this area and go to the state. I'll shout out Highland Park. You guys are good. They're good. They're a very, very talented team. They're a good team. But I think it's going to be Frisco Lone Star or Denton Ryan. And I lean Denton Ryan just because of the little bit better defense. Frisco Lone Star, incredible offense. But I'm kind of with you. I lean Denton Ryan. And then at the 5A Division II level, Alito's undefeated. I'm going to take them to win state. I mean, it's Alito. They're really good. And they're blowing everyone out right now. So
how about you, John? You got anything to wrap us up with? Any predictions?
Man, it's just, it's 63 degrees out and sunny. It's ideal football weather, and it's an exciting time of year. Hard to believe it's week 11 of the Texas high school football season, and for most teams, the final Friday night of the regular season. But man, there's just so much uncertainty, and there's I think something like 600 teams make it to the playoffs. So I'll start getting a little more granular as the playoff run continues. But good luck to all the teams that are headed into the postseason, and we just hope they play safely and have a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, one last thing I'd like to just kind of leave it off with is keep an eye on some of these teams, these powerhouses, kind of like Euless Trinity, who has kind of made their way back. They've had a really good season. Obviously used to be a massive powerhouse. They've kind of been high in the state rankings here and there. Got one loss in the season. I'm interested to see kind of what happens with them, because playoffs, you can play really, really well in district and all through the year. Your schedule can be kind of weird. It's kind of like college football a little bit. If your schedule's a little easy, you can go undefeated almost. We'll find out here, with some of these teams if they're legit.
Hey, Tatum Levine chimes in that says, "Go Koency! It's
Yes.
your birthday."
Hey, that's my dates of formal tomorrow.
Nice.
Yes.
Well,
Shout out
thanks
Tatum.
for
I'll
tuning
see
in,
you.
Tatum.
I'll see you in a little bit, Tatum. All righty. Well, y'all got
Good
anything
stuff.
else?
Well, hey, with that, we will see you next week. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in to the DenCoGridiron Show. For Koency, Hord, Lee Livingston, John Piper, thank you for being a part of this one.
Hey, I'm Mike Ducey from Fox 4. Make sure to tune in to the DenCoGridiron Show.